By now, we've all heard about the Texas abortion law that bans terminating a pregnancy after 6 weeks. It effectively deputizes the citizenry to enforce the ban through lawsuits and was crafted that way to, at least initially, avoid some constitutional questioning. Now, our question today is how it's impacting New Mexico and the clinics here that offer abortions. Here to offer thoughts are our Line Opinion panelists. Line regular and founder of the public relations business that bears his name, Tom Garrity, is back. Another regular UNM law professor, Serge Martinez, joins us once again, and it's been a while since Martha Burke has been here, but we welcome her back. The activist, author, and radio host to our table. Now, Martha, as you follow this law's implementation, what are the people you're talking to telling you about the on-the-ground effects so far? What are you hearing?
Well, it's causing a lot of hardship for women here in Mexico, as well as across our borders, because many women in Texas, there are very few clinics in southwest, southeast Texas. So they were depending on the clinic in El Paso. That is now gone. That means it's not accessible to southern New Mexico either. Southeastern New Mexico has no clinics that offer abortions. So women have to travel here to Albuquerque. Santa Fe doesn't have a clinic either. They're all in Albuquerque. And that's 200 or 300 miles, depending on what part of the state you live in down there. Many women can't take off work for 2 or 3 days to make arrangements for childcare. Buy the gas. Think about that. A lot of people don't have that extra $100 to buy gas to travel 300 miles. So it's going to be a hardship. I will have to say that I am very pleased that our Attorney General Valderas said he will defend any clinics here that happen to be attacked by these vigilantes, and that's what they are. He tried to bring suits against the clinics, although technically it only applies to Texas. You never know what these nutcases are going to do.
Martha, I got to say the numbers are kind of daunting. You would think there were 55,000 abortions in Texas in 2019, something like 3,800 here in New Mexico. I mean, just the sheer numbers. How are we supposed to absorb a third of that number, just to pick a number? That's an extraordinary amount of women seeking services.
Well, it absolutely is, Gene. And even though many of them are not going to be able to travel, a number will. I read something recently, I guess yesterday, that the requests are up 64%.
Right.
One of our clinics here in Albuquerque, and that is all coming from Texas. So it's sort of hurting women coming and going. It's the women here in New Mexico are having a harder time accessing the state facilities and deal with the influx of women from Texas, those that can afford and have the wherewithal to get here. Valderas has also said, and I'm very gratified about this, that he will defend any clinics that are attacked legally on this. And I'll just have to throw in that Uber and Lyft are saying also that they will defend any of their employees that get sued over this. You know, you can, according to the Texas law, anybody can be sued by anybody else, whether they live in Texas or not. If you're in New Mexico and you gave money to come in across the border, you could be sued here.
Let me talk to turn to Serge on that point. It's interesting. We've now seen 2 lawsuits, Serge, filed against that Texas doctor. You know, he said openly that he's violated the ban, and neither person who filed necessarily supports the law, which is interesting. But will this force that issue of constitutionality? I mean, do we need to just get to that point and get this on, so to speak?
I mean, that's the intent of both of these is to say, yes, this is going to be, this is what's going to set the the dominoes in motion to get this to some sort of constitutional test. I'm not really sure. I mean, both of them have openly said that they're doing it, for reasons that are not consistent with the law. What that would mean to a court, I don't know, or whether the actual questions that need to be raised and addressed for constitutional review purposes are going to actually come out of these 2 cases. So I can't say for sure about these 2 cases. I don't know enough, But I mean, this is exactly what the Supreme Court, when they said we can't review this, our hands are tied because this is just so clever. We can't possibly look at this, which I don't know if you can tell. I'm not really on board with. I found their reasoning quite disingenuous. But that said, right, they're saying we need to have a very specific set of circumstances that are going to, force us to address this. And whether this will be that, I don't know. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. I suspect we'll see lots more of this as this tries to play itself out.
That's right. Tom, the twist on this obviously is that the citizenry, is the entity that enforces this law. This is, unheard of in a lot of ways. What's the upside? What's the downside? How do you see this?
Well, it really comes down to, it's the power of elections and voting. These rules would not, be in play, whether, regardless of what your view is on this particular topic, if not for the elections. And, so what we're seeing is nationally is that states have been lining up over the last couple of years, anticipating a U.S. Supreme Court ruling on Roe versus Wade, as far as either readdressing the case or, perhaps even addressing a new case. New Mexico, I think 2 sessions ago, addressed, the abortion issue. Texas now is addressing the abortion issue, both in very different ways. Florida is reportedly looking at it. So, it's really comes down to, is I know we're also going to be talking about redistricting a little bit later today, about, the power of the vote is what it really comes down to.
Tom, I got to ask you this, though. It's doubtful whatever happens here in New Mexico as a result of this Texas law is going to change anyone's mind on abortion. So how have you seen policymakers responding to this, or will they? Maybe I should ask that as well.
Well, I think policymakers have responded,
Okay.
as far as with their vote, as far as, and I forgive me, I don't remember the exact law that was passed by the legislature, but the policymakers in the past have been very much influenced through the Catholic Church.
Right.
The Catholic Church has been very vocal in in its position on this particular issue, and a number of other groups have as well on both sides of the issue. So policymakers are definitely hearing from both sides, and unfortunately or fortunately, in this particular political environment that we're in right now, I don't think that there are many reasonable voices at this particular table, not our table, but as far as in this discussion when they're talking to the electeds.
Martha, we did have some movement this past. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but just want to point out we did have some movement on the abortion law, of course, here in New Mexico that got repealed. I'm interested in your point, the same point about policymakers. What's their next move on the chessboard here?
Well, I wanted to add a footnote about that
Please.
law, because at the time people were saying, oh, it's an old law, it doesn't matter. We have national policy as long as Roe lasts. Well, Roe may not last. Because as Tom says, it comes down to the electorate. There are over 25 other cases trying to make their way to the Supreme Court from various states to overturn Roe. So even if this Texas law is invalidated, the next one up is coming up in December out of Mississippi.
Right.
The goal has always been, even if abortion remains legal, you can't get one. Because either the clinic doesn't exist or the waiting period, you can't afford to go somewhere and wait 24 hours and that sort of thing. So the pro-choice movement is being attacked coming and going, as I said.
Let me spin back real quick to something you mentioned earlier, Martha. That was Hector Balderas. He signed on to the DOJ lawsuit challenging that Texas law. Our Attorney General called it, quote, ridiculous, this law. And he has a legit worry, it seems, from some that it will create health problems, not just for Texans, but for New Mexicans. I got to ask you, what's the weight of him signing on to this, signed by 23 other states as well?
I think it's a huge weight. I think it is a very strong message from our Attorney General. And of course, we saw in the legislature when they overturned the old pre-Roe law, New Mexico stands for women. Now, it could change any time, as Tom says, with the votes. We have redistricting coming up. We don't know what the state legislature will look like after that. But for right now, I admire the Attorney General's speaking out, his doing something about it to the extent that he can. And we just got to keep New Mexico pro-choice.
Good point there. Serge, real quick, we're a little short on time here, but let me widen the lens a little bit. With a conservative Supreme Court, conservative states, as Tom mentioned, crafting laws, anticipating or inviting even a legal challenge. Is that strategy, a process, judicial activism? I mean, how do we view this as a moment in time, this little era we're in here?
No, this is 100% judicial activism by inaction on this one, right? The process, there's a playbook here that just was, they chose not to follow it and let this law take effect. And effectively in Texas right now, Roe versus Wade is not the law of the land. And the Supreme Court gave its blessing to that, right? They are, the court has been going on a tour recently trying to say, we're not partisan hacks, but everything they are doing displays partisanship, and it's, the court is actively delegitimizing itself through the things that it's doing, calling it activism, or originalism, call it what you want. This is a court using, its conservative majority to reshape the law of the land.
All goes back to what Tom said, elections have consequences, right? We're out of time, but returning just a few minutes to talk redistricting.